Did you know that your baby could be in real pain right now? And doing everything in their power to make sure you don't realize it? This is not because they don't need you. It is something far more primal than that. It is biology. Newborns and infants cannot yet produce the language of suffering. Their nervous system is wired not to escalate, but to endure. And that makes our job as parents infinitely harder. In the first years of life, the brain is still building its pain processing pathways. This means a baby in chronic discomfort will often appear calm, quiet, even content, while internally, their body is sending out distress signals we were never taught to read. Today on Baby Secrets, we are going to change that. We will decode 10 almost invisible signs that your baby uses to call for help, without crying a single tear. Learning to recognize these signs can save you thousands in unnecessary emergency visits, but more importantly, it can spare your child weeks or months of undiagnosed suffering. Stay until the end, because sign number 10 is the most overlooked by parents and pediatricians alike, and it is often the earliest window into detecting silent internal conditions before they become serious. Before we begin, there is one concept you must understand: neonatal pain tolerance. For decades, medicine believed that babies did not truly feel pain the way adults do. We now know that is completely wrong. Research in developmental neuroscience confirms that infants have fully functional nociceptors, pain-detecting nerve endings, from as early as 24 weeks of gestation. What babies lack is not the sensation of pain. What they lack is the ability to communicate it in recognizable ways. Crying is often the last resort, not the first. Our mission as parents is to detect pain in its pre-cry phase, because by the time your baby screams, the discomfort has often already been present for hours. Sign 1. Unusual withdrawal and body curling. Your baby, who normally stretches freely during tummy time, suddenly pulls their knees tight to their chest, even while resting. Or they arch their back persistently, not during feeding, not during a tantrum, but constantly, between every activity. This is one of the most misread signals in infancy. In pediatric pain assessment, body curling and rigid guarding are what clinicians call protective posturing. The infant's nervous system physically contracting the body around a painful area to reduce external pressure on it. We often call it just gassiness, or a phase. But persistent posturing that lasts beyond a few minutes and recurs across multiple days is your baby's body saying, "Something inside here is not right." This can indicate gastrointestinal inflammation, urinary tract infection, or early musculoskeletal tension from birth-related positioning. Sign 2. Feeding refusal or abnormal latching patterns. We tend to assume that a baby who refuses the breast or bottle is simply not hungry, or that they are being fussy. But feeding refusal is one of the most clinically significant pain signals in the infant world. Think about it from their perspective. Eating requires jaw movement, neck extension, swallowing, a full-body coordinated effort. If any part of that chain is painful, from oral thrush causing burning sensations, to otitis media, ear infection, making jaw pressure unbearable, to acid reflux sending burning liquid up the esophagus with every swallow, your baby will associate feeding with pain and begin to resist it. Watch for a baby who starts a feed eagerly, then suddenly pulls back and cries. Or one who latches and unlatches repeatedly, turning their head to one side as if searching for a position that hurts less. This is not pickiness. This is your baby trying to negotiate with their own pain. Sign 3. Changes in facial expression at rest. Scientists have developed what is known as the neonatal facial action coding system, a clinical tool that identifies pain in pre-verbal infants purely through micro-expressions. What it reveals is extraordinary. A baby in pain will show brow lowering and furrowing, a nasolabial deepening, the crease between nose and lip, eye squeezing, and a characteristic open mouth grimace. These expressions appear even when the baby is not crying. They appear at rest, between feedings, during sleep transitions. Look at your baby's face when they are calm. Is there a persistent tension between the brows? What we call a pain furrow? Are their eyes squeezed slightly, even in a quiet moment? Do they grimace briefly and unpredictably, as if reacting to a sudden internal sensation? That brief, involuntary expression is not a random muscle twitch. It is the face of discomfort that has nowhere else to go. Sign 4. Altered sleep architecture. Waking at specific intervals. All babies wake during the night, but there is a critical difference between normal sleep cycling and pain-driven waking. Pain-driven waking has a pattern. It is not random. It occurs at predictable intervals, often 45 to 90 minutes after feeding, the same window during which gastric acid peaks and reflux intensifies. In pediatric sleep medicine, we recognize that chronic pain causes what is called sleep fragmentation. The baby enters light sleep, encounters a pain signal, and jolts awake without being able to fully articulate why. The wake is usually sudden, intense, and difficult to soothe with normal comfort measures like rocking or feeding. If you notice your baby waking consistently at the same time intervals after sleep onset, and that the waking is accompanied by arching, pulling up of legs, or a particular cry, high-pitched and urgent rather than the softer cry of simple hunger, you are witnessing a biological alarm system, not a sleep training problem. Sign 5. Altered cry acoustics, the pain cry profile. Not all crying is equal. Research in bioacoustics of infant distress has identified a distinct acoustic profile for pain crying compared to hunger or discomfort crying. The pain cry is characterized by higher fundamental frequency, a higher pitch, shorter cry bursts, and a more urgent, less rhythmic pattern. But here is the sign most parents miss: the suppressed pain cry. A baby in persistent chronic pain will often stop producing full cries altogether. Their system has learned that crying does not eliminate the pain, so the body shifts resources away from the energy-costly act of crying and into physiological coping. What you hear instead is a low, continuous whimper. A moan that sounds almost like they are sleeping but unsettled. A grunt that repeats with each exhale. This quiet suffering is the most dangerous kind because it does not trigger our parental alarm. If your baby is consistently making low-grade vocalizations between feedings, at rest, or during diaper changes, treat it the same way you would a full cry. It is the same message in a quieter voice. Sign 6. Gaze, aversion, and reduced social engagement. From the very first weeks of life, a healthy baby is biologically driven to seek your face. Eye contact, social smiling, and responsiveness to your voice are not just adorable, they are developmental reflexes as automatic as breathing. When pain disrupts them, it is significant. A baby managing internal discomfort will often divert cognitive resources away from social processing. Their brain is in pain regulation mode, a state in which the prefrontal cortex is overwhelmed managing the distress signal, leaving less capacity for the social engagement that comes so naturally otherwise. The result is a baby who turns away from your face, who doesn't track movement with the usual enthusiasm, who seems to look through you rather than at you. Parents often say, "She seems distant lately," or "He is not as smiley as he used to be." They attribute it to a growth spurt or a developmental leap. Sometimes it is, but persistent withdrawal from social engagement, especially when accompanied by any other sign on this list, is your baby's nervous system going offline to deal with something far more pressing than you. Sign 7. Repetitive self-soothing behaviors. The endorphin loop. You notice your baby is constantly sucking their hands, not just for hunger or teething, but relentlessly, urgently, almost compulsively. Or they rock rhythmically when placed in their crib. Or they rub their ear repeatedly on one side. In developmental pain neurology, these behaviors are called self-generated analgesic mechanisms. The repetitive motion or pressure stimulates the release of endogenous opioids, the body's own painkillers, providing brief windows of relief. the same neurological principle behind a dog licking a wound. Hand sucking is normal and healthy. But when a baby sucks their hands with a desperation that is not satisfied by feeding, when the behavior intensifies at predictable intervals, or when it is accompanied by a particular expression of concentration, not calm, but focused, almost effortful, what you are watching is a very small person trying very hard to manage pain they cannot tell you about. Sign 8. Resistance to touch on specific body areas. During a diaper change, your baby suddenly startles and cries when you move their legs, but only their right leg. Or they flinch every time you fasten clothing around their abdomen, even when you are being gentle. Or they become distressed during bath time, specifically when you wash their scalp. This is called allodynia, the clinical term for pain produced by stimuli that would not normally be painful. It occurs when an inflamed area becomes hypersensitive. Even light touch sends an exaggerated pain signal to the brain. The important detail here is specificity. A baby with generalized discomfort will be fussy broadly. But a baby who resists touch in a specific consistent location is giving you a map. They are telling you exactly where the problem is. If your baby winces at a specific spot during routine care, the abdomen, a limb, the head, the ear, that consistency is not coincidence. It is a precise anatomical signal. Sign 9. Changes in muscle tone. Stiffness or sudden floppiness. In pediatric neurology, muscle tone is one of the most information-rich clinical signs available. A healthy infant has what clinicians call appropriate tone, not rigid, not limp, but responsive. They flex and extend with a natural fluidity. Pain disrupts this dramatically in two opposite directions. Hypertonia, increased stiffness, occurs when the body guards against pain by tensing the muscles around a painful area. You will notice a baby who feels rigid in your arms, whose back seems difficult to curve, who resists being held in certain positions. Hypotonia, unusual floppiness, occurs when chronic pain depletes the nervous system's regulatory capacity. The baby who was once wriggly and active becomes passive, difficult to position, and lacks the spontaneous motor activity of healthy infants. If you notice either extreme, a baby who has become abnormally stiff in a particular position, or one who has lost the energetic, exploratory movement they once had, do not attribute it to temperament. Tone changes are the body's neuromuscular vocabulary for distress. Sign 10. Loss of developmental milestones. The most ignored sign. We have reached the most critical point, and the sign that most parents and even many pediatricians miss. Your baby was rolling to one side. Now they don't. They were beginning to babble. Now they are quieter. They used to reach eagerly for objects placed in front of them. Now they don't extend their arms with the same enthusiasm. This is called developmental regression under chronic pain loading. When a baby's nervous system is continuously occupied with managing a pain signal, it deprioritizes the acquisition of new skills. The brain's resources are finite. Development requires surplus energy, curiosity, motivation, the neurological safety to take risks. Chronic pain consumes that surplus. What parents see is a baby who plateaued or seems less interested. What is actually happening is that a hidden condition, a structural problem, a silent infection, an inflammatory process, an internal pressure is stealing cognitive and physical resources that should be going toward growth. When a baby stops progressing, their body is not being lazy. It is surviving. This is the most urgent signal on this entire list. A child who regresses in any developmental domain without a clear environmental explanation deserves an immediate, thorough pediatric evaluation. Do not wait. Your baby came into this world with no words, no vocabulary, no way to say, "It hurts here." All they have is their body, and you. Being a parent is not just feeding and bathing and singing to sleep. It is learning to read a language that has no alphabet. It is becoming the voice of someone who has not yet found their own. If you have recognized 2 or more of these signs in your child, Please do not wait for the next scheduled checkup. A timely evaluation may be the difference between a week of unnecessary suffering and a childhood of thriving. At Baby Secrets, we believe that the deepest act of love is paying attention. We want to hear from you. Have you ever detected something was wrong with your baby before anyone else believed you? Your story might be exactly what another parent needs to read today. Leave it in the comments below. If this helped you, share it with a parent who needs it. Subscribe so we can keep building this community together, because when we know better, our babies live better. Thank you for being the kind of parent your child deserves.